Hey, good morning. בשעה טובה we start the fourth book since we started learning Tanakh together. Yeshua, Shoftim, Shmuel Aleph, and now Shmuel second, Shmuel Bet. Even though, as I said already many times, it's not really a new book. It's continue Shmuel Aleph. There's no, in the Jewish tradition, there's only one Shmuel. The division into two books was made by the Greek translation, but because it was more comfortable like that, it was adapted also in our tradition. So today we're using this division, but it's really not any. There's no any thematic. I would say thematic. You said thematic division, yeah, between the first and the second book. If there is one, it would be that this book starting really the kingdom of David. Till now, we were in the before the kingdom of David, and the kingdom of David itself starts in this book. But according to that, it should have been from the next chapter. This chapter is clearly and very closely continuing the former story that we saw in the end of Shmuel Aleph. So if you say that something should have started somewhere, we should have started a new book, it would have been the next chapter. Why did the Targum HaShiv'im did that here? Apparently because of the first words, Va'hi acharei mot Shaul, after the death of Shaul. Why? Because this is the exact way that Sefer Yoshua starts after the death of Moshe, and Sefer Shoftim starts after the death of Yoshua. So starting a book in the words after the death of someone was a regular thing. That apparently this is the reason they divided the book here. Anyway, this is about that, and now we continue. So it's really just continues the stories. In the last chapter of Sefer Shmuel, we saw sometimes it's focusing what's happened to David, sometimes what's happened to Shaul. It's like jumping between the two stories, parallel stories, and here these two stories are united to one. So what's happened with Shaul? Shaul went to a war against the Plishtim. Before that, he went to ask in Endor the magician, the woman, what's going to happen. And after that was the war, and he fell in the war. This is the story from the point of view of Shaul. We saw in last moment when he saw that there's no chance he will survive, so he decided in the end to kill himself. That's what we saw, the version that we saw in the last chapter of the former book. So this is like the focus on Shaul. When the focus goes to David, so in the beginning he went to the war together with the Plishtim, with Achish Melech Gat, but then they don't believe in him. Maybe they had a good reason for that, and they send him away. When he went away, he returned to his home in Ziklag, and he found that Amalek was there. They destroyed the city, and they took all the women and children captive, apparently to sell them as slaves in Egypt. And David chased them with 600 people. After that, 400 people, and they caught them, and they saved all the family. So that was the two stories. And now we are going to see how they are coming together. After the death of Shaul, David had already returned from defeating the Amalekites. David stayed 2 days in Ziklag. Ziklag was a base, the city where David lived. Now, the word Amalek appears in this chapter many times, apparently not only because of the story itself, but also for some symbolic reason. And we always return to the point that the deterioration of Shaul started by not fulfilling the order of Hashem to eliminate Amalek. That's where everything started. So it's always in the background. Remember the first sin, the first mistake, right? That you didn't do what you had to do, and that's the reason for your fall. So, but in this time, this is showing that David did what Shaul did. So David did defeated the Amalekim, not the same as Shaul. So he set 2 days. On the third day, we saw that before, that the distance was 3 days walking between the war in the north and the house of David in the south. So on the third day, a man came from Shaul's camp with his clothes rent and earth on his head. What does it mean, cloth rent and earth on his head? This is signs of mourning. Mourning. So he is sad. It's an important point that he is sad. We're going to see why later. So, and as he approached David, he flung himself to the ground and bowed low. Why doing that? Because David is now apparently going to be the king. So the first runner, I would say. When you see a shift of power, there are these people that are in a hurry to stick to the new leader. So he's come to him with all the show. I'm mourning, but you are the king. I'm bowing to you. So David said to him, where are you coming from? He answered, I have just escaped from the camp of Israel. So he's Jewish, apparently, or at least in the side of Am Israel. So what happened, David asked David, tell me. And he told him how the troops had fled the battlefield, and that moreover, many of the troops had fallen and died. Also that Shaul and his son Jonathan were dead. So all the bad news, Chachamim said that it was said gradually. It's a wise way to do that. You don't give all the bad news in one time. You do that one by one, going. I don't know if to say from the less bad to the worst, because I don't know what is worse, that many people died or that Shaul and Jonathan died. For some aspect, we can say the fact that many people died is worse than 2 people died. On the other side, we understand that the death of the king, and the son of the king, the future heir, is nationally it means more than many soldiers, right? It's not the same. As a king died, as many soldiers died. So he starts slow and go farther, harder and harder. First of all, they fled. Not only that they fled, many of them fell. Not only that many of them fell, also Shaul and his son. So according to that, Jonathan should have been before Shaul. Shaul and Jonathan. But maybe because he knew that for David, Jonathan is more important. It's not only Shaul, it's only the future king. It's not only Shaul that was against you, but also Jonathan that was your friend. So maybe according to that, this is why it's gradually worse and worse. So David, in the first moment, what he's going to do is try to make sure that we are talking about real news and not fake news. It's not some AI illusion or something like that, right? We are talking about real news. How do you know, David asked the young man who brought him the news that Shaul and his son Jonathan are dead. So the young man who brought, we say several times, the word na'ar in Hebrew, usually in modern Hebrew, means young man, like in his teens, right? A teenager is usually called na'ar. In the Bible, many times na'ar, it can be a young man, but it's also many times like a servant. Yoshua was a na'ar of Moshe, the servant of Moshe. Yoshua binu na'ar lo yamush mitoch ha'oil. So there are several places so we can say that it's not young men, but the servant. So the way is named, we already know that it wasn't a regular soldier or I would say one of the army. It was a nar, a servant of the army. So the young man who brought him the news answered, I happened to be at Mount Gilboa randomly in the middle of the war. I happened to be in Mount Gilboa and I saw Shaul leaning on his spear. Is it accurate?
No, because he didn't kill himself.
No, he killed himself.
He killed him, yeah.
What is not accurate? I will read the whole sentence.
Was it more south?
No, it was in Har Gilboa. It was in Har Gilboa, or very close to Har Gilboa. So, but listen, and I saw Shaul leaning on his spear, and the chariots and riders closing in on him. This was a description of the death of Shaul. What are two details that are not accurate here? So Yitzhak said one. It wasn't a spear, it was a sword.
Second one, they were close to him. He killed himself before.
He killed before, but also what it said that were coming close to him were the people, the archers, those who, not the rechem, not the chariots and the riders. We say that chariots don't go in the mountain. That was the advantage of Am Israel, and the advantage of the Plishtim was in the plain, because the chariots could fight in the plain. So Am Israel escaped to the mountain. That was we saw last time. So
maybe this guy.
when you find, so I'm just, it's just this contradiction can be resolved easily. It's not hard question. I think that the fact that the Bible say two versions, maybe it's one way to one way to interpret that. It's to when someone is lying, the small details are the one who are turn him in, and that's a sign that the Tanakh gives that it wasn't true, because there is a question here if this boy telling the real story or not. So I think that the fact that it's not accurate. So we can answer that sword and spear many times are. I mean, it's interchangeable. I mean, you can call it sword, you can call it spear. It's not really words that exclude each other. And maybe the chariot and the rider were closing to him. We don't know. It doesn't say clearly that they didn't. It says that he was surrounded by the archers, but he didn't say that there weren't any riders and chariots close by. So maybe he's giving us details that weren't in the story before. But it looks to me more that it's not randomly. It's not random details. It's in purpose to show you that if the story is not accurate, because you read the story before, so maybe the story is not accurate either, and maybe he's lying. But according to the story of the boy, he arrived after Shaul was already going to die. Nish'an al Chanito, leaning on his spear, we can understand why he's inside him, right? Not leaning because he needs support. He was, like we said, he was falling on his sword. That's the words that the Tanakh was using in the former chapter. So he was there. He looked around and saw me. And he called to me. When I responded, at your service. All that, it's not written. You know what I'm saying? Let's read again. Let's read again the story of how Shaul. Oh, we don't have this here.
No, but no, he didn't want. Then he came.
Yeah, so the other boy. Yeah, let me see. Let's open the former chapter. It's going to take some time. Okay, so it says, the battle raged around Shaul, and some of the archers hit him, and he was severely wounded by the archers. Shaul said to his arms bearer, draw your sword and run me through, so that the uncircumcised may not run me through and make sport of me. But his arms bearer, in his great awe, refused. Whereupon Shaul grasped the sword and fell upon it. When his arms bearer saw that Shaul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So according to this version, Shaul wasn't alone in the end. There was his arm bearer near him, at least the arm bearer. After that it says, then Shaul and his 3 sons and his arm bearer, as well as all his men. So he has his men. Apart from the big army, we have the men of the king who are around him. So he wasn't there alone, and suddenly he saw some boy, come here, kill me. Right? It wasn't, at least at this version, it's not like that. But that's the way he is. The boy is telling it here. Okay, so again, the young man who brought him the news answered, I happened to be at the Mount Gilboa, and they saw Shaul leaning on his spear, apparently dying after he fell on his sword, and the chariots and riders closing in on him. He looked around and saw me. It says over there that the arm bearer died only after Shaul died, but here Shaul is still alive and is looking around and finding this boy. And he called to me when I responded, at your service. He asked me, who are you? And I told him that I was an Amalekite. So that changes the story a little bit. He is Amalekite. What he's doing there? We're going to see later, I will read that already, that he is Ger Amalekite. So David said to the young man who had brought him the news, where are you from? He replied, I am the son of a resident alien and Amalekite. So the word resident alien, in Hebrew it says Ger Amaleki. Ger is converted. Now, the word It's a question. It's a good question, but apparently it doesn't say clearly that they cannot. Other nations. Amalek doesn't say. The Gemara itself says that some of the biggest rabbi were descendants of Amalek.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, but let's leave the halachic question. The word ger in Hebrew can be translated as resident alien, meaning someone that live. Me, I'm a ger here. I don't from here, but I live here. This is called ger, right? Someone that came from outside and live in some place is a ger, or someone that converted to Judaism or to other religion. A converted person is also called ger. Usually to Judaism, we don't say to other people, to other religion, we don't use the word ger. So it was ger Amaleki in both meaning living in Israel. So the same Amalekim that were the biggest enemies of Am Yisrael, apparently some of them were in some way mixed with Am Yisrael. We saw in Sefer Shoftim several times that the Amalekim and the sons of Yitro were living in the same place. So there was some kind of mixing. So we say that the Amalekim apparently were tribes that were wandering around, how do you say, nomadic tribes. So in nomadic tribes, sometimes some of the families, the people try to settle down in some places. So it makes sense. It's all the same song, right? We're talking about 3, 4, 5 days walking from side to side of Eretz Israel. It's not like going months. So maybe some of the Amalekim were settled in. So he was in the war in the side of Am Israel, but not really actively participating or helping. He was just happened to be walking there according to his description, and then he saw Shaul, and Shaul asking him, "Who are you?" And he answered him, "I am Amalekite." Then he said to me, "Stand over me," and finished me off, for I'm in agony, and am barely alive. Achazani Shavatz. Shavatz in modern Hebrew is stroke. But apparently in the Bible it means someone I'm close to die and I don't want to suffer. So I stood over him and finished him off, for I knew that he would never rise from where he was lying, meaning he was close to death. Then I took the crown from his head and the armlet from his arm, and I brought them here to my Lord. So I have a proof to all this story, all this not very reliable story, but he has proofs. The proofs are he has the things of Shaul in his hands. So maybe all what I said before, it's not. So again, what I'm saying is just my opinion, because there are different opinions about that. Some say all of that is a lie. Apparently, he arrived there before the Plishtim. He found the crown, he found the thing, and just took them. Why he came to David? And this is a mistake that many people did also after that, thinking that David hates Shaul.
Yeah.
And wanting to, if you want to stick with David, you have to bring the heads of Shaul or something related to that. We're going to see stories in few chapters from now, people that killed the sons of Shaul, and brought his head to David, and they didn't go out alive from this story. So many people made this mistake, thinking that the fact that Shaul was chasing David, meaning that David hates Shaul. So this boy just found Shaul before the Plishtim. In the former chapter, we saw that after the day after the war, the Plishtim arrived and found the body of Shaul. So between the end of the battle and the next day, there was time to someone to come there and take the things and bring them to David. The other option, again, it's not my opinion, but it's totally fine. I mean, with the verses, is that it's a real story. We can resolve all the differences between the two stories. We can say that in the beginning was a story that we saw in Shmuel Aleph, when Shaul asked his armor to kill him. He didn't want to. Shaul fell on his sword, and then also the armor died. But you know that when someone is hit by a sword, it's not dying in 5 minutes. It can take days. It can take hours at least. So he arrived later, and then he saw that Shaul is still alive. The army of the Plishtim not only the archers that shoot from far away, they also walking the chariots, and the soldiers came closer and closer, and he saw he was in between the camps. And in the last moment, he could see Shaul in his last moment, and Shaul asked him to kill him. He did that. He took the things and ran away. So it's also a possible version of the story. But if we are going above the details, Shaul was killed or claimed to be killed by an Amalekite boy, right? So it's closing the closure of starting with the scene is a closure. And if it's true or not true, in both cases, the young man thought that the right thing to do is to come to David with what he took. And why? And he said, well, I'm going to stick with the new power. Shaul is finished. I'm going to stick with the new power, which is David, and I brought my prize. There is a midrash, interesting midrash, and in an interesting way, I think the only place that I know that Rashi say, I don't feel comfortable with this midrash. I don't, no, it doesn't sit on my heart in Hebrew. לא מתיישב על ליבי. The midrash said that this Amalekite boy is Doeg Edomi. Remember the Doeg that we met before? Doeg was the one who killed the Kohanim in Nov, the city of the Kohanim, when Shaul thought that they were cooperating with David, and he ordered to kill them. Nobody agreed apart from Doeg. Doeg was the only one who agreed to do that. So Chachamim say that this boy is Doeg. So it added a little bit details that we didn't know that Doeg was from Amalekite source. And it's, I don't know why, I mean, what it's had here. So we can see like he's not really loyal to Shaul. He was the first one to change sides, the first opportunity. He was with Shaul, killing whoever Shaul wants him to kill, and then he ran away and joined David in the first opportunity, bringing him the gifts, the price that he would accept him after what he did before. So this is what the Midrash say, and like I said, Rashi said, I don't feel comfortable with this Midrash. I don't know. Again, it's quite a strange.
There is something interesting here that Shaul didn't finish the Amalekite killing with them.
Yeah. So this, like I said, this is where is it?
Yeah. You talk now.
Yeah. Absolutely despise Donald Trump until he wins the primary, and then he's the greatest president ever.
Right. Here, I am gripped with convulsions. The Midrash Haggadah explain. No.
Oh, the Midrash on this.
No. It's not this one that I'm saying.
Rashi brings Midrash, no?
No, Rashi always bring Midrashim, but usually he doesn't say. Here. The Psikta brings an opinion that the man is Doeg, but the explanation is indefensible in my heart. I don't feel good with this explanation. This is quite rare with Rashi. Rashi usually just brings the Midrash. He's not saying I don't agree with it. Okay, anyway, this was the story. So David took hold of his clothes and rent them, and so did all the men with him. They lamented and wept, and they fasted until evening for Shaul and his son Jonathan, and for the soldiers of God, and the house of Israel who had fallen by the sword. Chachamim learn from here, in Masechet Moed Katan, that there is a mitzvah to make a kri'ah, how do you call that? To kri'ah, tearing the cloth as a sign of mourning, not only for relatives, also for bad news. Some of the bad news, the death of a king. I know there were some people that did kri'ah when Rabin was murdered, because it's like the same. Not when the king died on his bed, when the king died for unnatural reasons. So Rabin wasn't a king, but he was a prime minister, which is similar. So the Gemara says that if you heard about the death of the king of Israel, or Jonathan, the Gemara says, He was the head of the Sanhedrin, of the rabbinical court. So this is another case. And if you heard about many people that died together and lost the war, you also have to do kriya. It's like national mourning. What?
In Hot Avelut.
Yeah, it's in Hot Avelut. It says la halacha. It's not very common, Baruch Hashem, it's not happening a lot. But when not only king, also when Gedolei Israel died many times, other people that did kriya, even though it was natural reasons. But they are learned that from this verse, al Shaul vayonatan beno v'al Hashem v'al Bet Israel ki naflu b'char. So they are mourning for them, but this is it's not the order because that's happened after what we are going to read next. So it's like what's going to happen next. But before that, there's another detail. David said to the young man who had brought him the news, "Where are you from?" He replied, "I am the son of a resident alien and Amalekite." Apparently, David recognized that he wasn't Jew. We are going in the direction that it's not Doeg, that it's a Amalekite boy. He asked him where he's from because I think, what does it mean, where are you from? Who are you, maybe? Maybe he wanted to make sure that what he said before, that I am a Amalekite, he said in the story that the boy said, I answered Shaul, I am a Amalekite boy. So he wanted to make sure that it's true. Or maybe to restore the conflict between, he was in the camp of Am Israel while he's saying he's Amalekite. So how it goes together? And he answered him, I am the son of a resident alien, of a ger Amalekite. How did you dare, David said to him, to lift your head and kill God's anointed? So David is emphasizing that he wasn't behind the death of Shaul, that he wasn't supporting it. So because apart from maybe really that's what he felt, what he wanted to see, David here is in a very problematic place. He was in the side of the camp of the Plishtim, in the war against Am Israel, where Shaul died. So this is put him in a very uncomfortable place. He must prove everybody that he is in the side of Am Israel, that he's not in the side of the Plishtim.
He didn't fight, but
he was in the camp, and he was alliance of the allied with the king of the Plishtim. Later also there is a case. We're going to see in the next chapter. I'm saying a little bit earlier, but after that, there was a war between David and the heirs of Shaul. It was many years of two kingdoms, Shaul and David. It wasn't, and over there,
the regime changed go well.
And over there, also there was some case that someone killed the head of the army of Shaul. And it wasn't David. And it wasn't according to David's will. And David had to show everybody that he's not like that. He's not killing his enemies. He's not the one who is... from his side, there's no any enmity you say, between him and Shaul. He's not against Shaul. He's not hating Shaul. He doesn't want Shaul to be dead. And more than that, he saw Shaul as a king. That's what he says. How dare you to lift your hand and kill God's anointed? Mashiach Hashem in Hebrew, Mashiach. The word Mashiach is anointed. This is the real meaning of the word Mashiach. Thereupon, David called one of the attendants and said to him, come over and strike him. He struck him down and he died. And David said to him, I guess before he died, your blood be on your own head. Your own mouth testified against you when you said, I put God's anointed to death. Quite a harsh sentence.
There is in Hebrew term, damo berosho.
Damo berosho.
It's similar.
Yeah. But here there is an halachic problem. You know you're not allowed to kill people usually, right?
Here people die.
You need to do that in a proper way. There are cases where there is a death penalty in Judaism, but it needs a court. Apart from that, it needs two witnesses, while self testimony, how you say, when you testify about yourself, when you convict yourself, self-conviction, Yeah. When you say that you are guilty, self what?
Incriminating.
Incriminating is not allowed in Judaism. It's allowed in money. I mean, if you said you own money, you have to pay, but it's not allowed in other cases. אין אדם משים עצמו רשע, so the בית דין don't kill, the death penalty cannot be executed by self-testimony. So here, David says the opposite. Your blood on your own head, because you said, your mouth testified. So it's not a valid testimony. Still, you can bring crown, it doesn't mean that you kill anyone. The fact that he killed is his mouth, and say your mouth testified. So there are two directions, I would say. First of all these laws do not apply on non-Jews. This is one explanation. Like that says. So we say convert can be understood as convert or just living alive. And foreigners that live in Israel. What? Ger Toshav, what we call Ger Toshav, yeah. And the other explanation is David started here to exercise his authority as a king. As we saw, he already did that before several times. Meaning, there is a halacha that says, a law that says, that the king can kill not according to the regular laws. The king had extra power when he saw it's necessary for the kingdom. Sometimes he has like bigger powers than regular court. You can do things more than the regular court in the case of a war, in the case of a national necessity. So he is allowed to do that, and David is acting here as a king, and especially because this boy, according to his words, was the one who's killing the king. So it's going like, you kill the king, so you can be killed by the king and laws. And it was important again to show everybody that David wasn't in the side that is against Shaul. It's not supporting all this going against Shaul. Okay, so that was important, and maybe it's also related to the fact that few days ago only the same Amalekite took his wives and families as captives, right? So it's also can be related to that also, right? Okay, so this is the story, the closing story about the death of Shaul. Now, until the end of the chapter, there is what we call the Kinat David. How do you translate Kinat? Intoned. Kina, it's lamentations, we can say. The books of Echa that we read in Tisha B'Av is called also Kinot. How do you say lamentation? Lamentation. It's a very famous kina. Today it's usually read in the ceremonies for the fallen soldiers. In Israel.
There is something in the army that mentioned this.
Yeah, there are Lamed Yehuda Keshet. There is. But it's read almost every year or every place in Israel on the soldiers, in the day of the fallen soldiers. So it says, and David intoned this dirge, just dirge is like lamentation, over Shaul and his son Jonathan. He ordered the Judites to be taught the song of the bow. The song of the, as you see, it's in parentheses, it's not really written. It says to taught the Judites keshet, bow. It is recorded in the book of Yashar, book of straight. It says Yashar, someone straight, also mean honest sometimes. We should explain all of that. So what does it mean to teach the Judites bow? So one explanation is, one explanation is that since Am Yisrael lost the battle and lost a lot of soldiers, you need to teach the next generation how to fight. And part of the legend or the inspiration of going to a fight is to learn about the fallen soldiers, right? It's part of the education. Or maybe just a call. We need soldiers. We need new soldiers. More specific explanation, it's interesting, during the Bible, who are the archers of Am Israel? The one who can, not archers with arrows and bow, but those who are shooting in the distance. It's almost always the sons of Binyamin. Kol'im el ha'se'ara, it says, that they were very accurate. There are several snipers. The snipers were the time of Binyamin. We see that in several stories, while those who fought with the sword were the sons of Yehuda. So since we can imagine that most of the people that were around Shaul were from his tribe, and it's the second time that the tribe of Binyamin is getting hurt very, very badly. So now there's no other option. The sons of Yehuda should learn the job of the sons of Binyamin. Right? Lamed Bnei Yehuda keshet, because we lost all the Binyaminites. So we need Yehuda. So this is one explanation, but the addition here in English, the song of the bow, apparently this is most the direction that most go in. That's meaning it's not to teach them how to fight. I mean, maybe it's an important thing to do, but we are going to read about the song, what it has to do with the fact that, by the way, I also need a lot of soldiers. I mean, it's not in the context here, it's out of context. The context here is that David is going to lament for Shaul and Jonathan. So according to that, apparently it's the song of the bow. The song, the sad song, the lamentation for those who fell by the bow or who fell in the battle. The hero soldiers that fell in the battle. So this is I think, the simple explanation. And the book of Yashar, so in the Gemara there are different explanations what is the book of Yashar. Again, Yashar is straight, in the meaning that usually in Hebrew, straight is like righteous, right? You're going straight, and you're not going to the side. You're not going to around the truth. You're going to the truth. So Sefer HaYashar is a Sefer of the Torah, the book of the Torah. Some say it's Sefer Bereshit, others say it's Sefer Dvarim, and the third opinion that it's Sefer Shoftim. And so where it's written, it's not written in the Torah. What does it mean? This is written, it is recorded in the book of Yashar. So what Chachamim says that the values of this lamentation you can find in the Torah. What David's saying, this you can find the same idea. Other explanation, which is, I think, again, it's the pshat, it's the literal meaning of the word, that there was a book. This Sefer HaYashar is mentioned several times during the Bible. Apparently there was a book, that we don't have it anymore, that it was lost. And that in this book were written several things that we don't have today. So apparently the full version of the lamentation is written in this Sefer HaYashar. Okay. I think that we're going to see the song itself in the next time. I don't want to enter right now for that. Because we should give it a little bit more attention. So, but it's a very beautiful song, and song is the meaning of poetry, right? It's a poetry, right? It's not a song that you're singing. In Hebrew, it's the same word. Okay, that is for today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.